Hey everybody, and thanks for watching Woodcrest Bonsai. In this video I'm going to work on this Procumbens Nana Juniper. I was holding off because we're supposed to be getting considerable cold next week, but I figure I can do some simple styling on this guy even with the cold coming. I have to root prune and repot my junipers in the dead of winter when they're completely dormant, or else they just won't survive. So I purchased this tree as a landscape plant in the fall of 2022, and in 2023 January I root pruned it from the 3-gallon pot that it was in, put it into this pot, and picked a leader that I liked and brought it up with wire. But I took the wire off prematurely, so it all has fallen over. So what we really want is the tree to go back upright like this. So that's what I'm going to do today. And you see there's a whole bunch of dead growth here. But that doesn't mean this tree is not healthy. That means that when it fell over, all that growth was pointing down and getting shaded out. And so the tree just prioritized the growth to the top. So once I bring it up again, I'll need to remove this dead growth. But you see, like this branch here, it still has a couple of little live pieces. So I don't think all is lost on this guy. I should have rewired it straight up as soon as I noticed it had fallen over, but shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? And I'm going to try something a little bit different too. I'm going to try to work from the side instead of the front, because I find that when I work from the front, all you see is my elbow. So I'm going to try to work from the side. I've got my piece of wire, so I'm going to put the wire into the soil and then bring it around. Trying to see where I'm going, because the foliage that is healthy is very dense. And I mean, this is not something unique to junipers. A tree that has downward growth that's also being shaded out by the upper growth, that downward shaded growth is going to die. It's going to suffer. It's just a biological fact. Trees, plants, they don't promote growth that's growing down. Now you may say, well, yeah, but procumbens can be cascades. Well, that's true. But if you notice on a cascade, all the growing tips are still pointing up. The main trunk may be guided down, but the tips of the branches are still going up. I'm going to try to figure out where I'm going with this thing. Okay, I want to go around here, and I got to get this branch out of the way. To do that, oh, there we go. Okay. I was pulling up the wrong branch. Okay, now the branch I was messing with is the one that needs to be moved out of the way. Okay, we're getting there. See where we're going with this thing. So now I've hit a point where the branch is actually too thin for this size wire. So I need to be a little more gentle. About applying the wire the rest of the way. And many times when you're wiring an entire trunk like this, you switch wire as the branch becomes thinner. I think I'm going to be able to pull it off with just this guy. And I'm not sure how the quality of this thing is going to come out, because on the viewfinder the tree is really dark, because I'm also not in front of my black background, because I need arms that were 7 feet long to wire it from the side and have the black background. So, alright, so here we go. Bring it up. And then give it a little twist. Where's that guy coming from? Yanking it out of the pot, even though it's anchored in the pot. Ah, the sun is coming out. It's a beautiful thing. All right. How does that look? Looks like still like a giant glob. But at least it's a little more upright now. Okay. This funky limb right here, that was the one that was half dead, will probably come off completely. Turn it into a little bit of gin, because I have a branch right there that can fill that space. So turn this to gin. A lot of extra foliage in here that I need to create space. See if we can't bring it up a little bit so you can see the top of the tree. And the trunk line is still hidden quite a bit. Alright. That's a start. I know in the viewfinder it doesn't look like much, but it's, from looking at it, just eyeballing it, it's got some decent potential now. So let's have me get out of the way so it's in the sun. So does that make it better? I had to walk all the way back around. So yes, there's still certainly things that need to be done with this tree. I don't want the apex shooting like that. I want the apex to come more this way. But this thick wire just isn't going to do that. But honestly, that's about where I wanted to be with this guy. And I can prune off some of this dead. But you'll notice, see, there's still little tiny pieces that are growing in the crooks of the branches. So those can begin to elongate and fill in. So this branch here, which I think is an integral part of the tree, also had some major problems. Now here we have a branch growing down, which there's no way we're going to need that. I'll turn it into a little bit of gin. Put it like that. And just rub off the bark. And that's maybe a little bit too long, but those little tiny pieces of gin can really add a certain natural look. Get rid of this guy. Yeah, so this guy could definitely use to be elongated. This poor guy here, I'm going to cut it to the new growth for now, but I'm really thinking that I'm going to take some of this and bring it into here. This foliage here is actually part of a back branch. All of this here is all part of a branch that's going in from the back. So probably need to wire that into the back. And you really want the apex to go like that. Boink. So do I have my wire somewhere? So let's do that. Hopefully not getting my elbows in the way. All right, there we go. Much nicer. And then a lot of this top growth here actually needs to be lifted up. A lot of times when you're wiring bonsai, you want to wire your branches down because they're growing up too much. But in some of these cases, these guys are going to need to be wired up. And that's for another video on another day. I think this tree has decent potential now. It's going to be a woodcrest bonsai juniper. There's no doubt about that. I have my own style, which you may agree or disagree with. But it's kind of like my signature. I'm probably not going to change it right today. And then we've got 3 different branches here. One here. And 2 that are almost parallel coming out of here. So I'm going to need to decide which ones of those I want to keep. And I'm thinking if this is the first main branch, this will probably make the best second main branch and take these 2 off completely here. But I also want to try to take some cuttings. And, I need to root prune my trees. I'm going to take off some of this more dead. Try to root prune my junipers in the dead of winter. So I thought, well, because to tell you the truth, I'm certainly no juniper expert. In zone 10, they're tough. If you look at their climate zone, even in the ground, their lower limit is zone 9A, and I'm in zone 10A. So that's an entire 10 degrees warmer in the winter. So that can make it pretty stressful on trees like this. This is why I've been talking about I really want it to get cold. Of course, I don't want it to get into the 20s like they're predicting, but not much you can do about Mother Nature. So I'm pretty happy with the way these guys are growing. When I root pruned them, they were in the landscape mix that you buy a landscape plant in a 3-gallon pot. I'm sure we've all bought a landscape plant in a 3-gallon pot where the soil was all really organic, rich, moist. And I put it in the same mix. This is also a mica pot, so they retain moisture. I think in the past my troubles with junipers is that they dried out on me. And if a juniper dries out completely, even once, that's it, it's gone. It usually takes about another month for that to happen. There's the apex. So that's looking pretty good. Needs a whole lot more work. Mostly taking this large foliage mass and reducing it to the branching to create the look of a tree. Right now it sort of looks like a tree, but because it's just got this giant glob of foliage here, you don't get that impression of, like John Naka used to say, and I used his philosophy very much. You have to have space for the birds to fly through. And right now this one does not. But it's got potential. It's now upright. It should be much healthier. This cold that we're supposed to get is somewhere between the 8th to the 10th, maybe even a little bit later than that. And then I will root prune this guy too. And just out of curiosity, let's see what kind of roots we have. Oh yeah, pretty decent roots. Still fairly healthy, and it is certainly not root bound. But that's the last thing I want, is for it to get root bound. So I am going to still root prune it and repot it. And I'm going to put it back into the landscape mix. I may try a couple in bonsai soil, but they're just so touchy about drying out. And I will probably anchor it more like that once I've repotted it so it's even more upright. But that's all the work I want to do on it today. And as far as being prepared for the cold, I bought 4 10-foot by 25-foot pieces of 3 mil plastic. I bought 6 9 by 12 pieces of 0.7 mil plastic. I've got all the wood I need to build the framing, and so I think I'm pretty prepared. I need to do some pruning of some limbs, and with any luck it won't get that drastic, but it's it's pretty much typical for where I live. That one day of freezing, or the potential, exists every year, and every year I say, come on, don't freeze. And yet on the other hand, I want it to get cold so that these dudes go dormant, and my hornbeams and my elms and my bald cypress and my ilex shillings, I want them all to get cold, because then they go dormant better and they grow more healthily if they go dormant. And that's the problem with growing northern trees. I could never grow hemlocks or birches or beeches or any kind of other northern junipers, blue spruce, thuja, none of those, because they don't go dormant this far south, and they basically grow themselves to death. Dormancy for a tree that's adapted to more northern climates is not an option. It is an integral part of its life cycle, and not allowing them to go dormant will kill them over a period of usually 2 to 3 years. So I'm pushing the limit with these guys. I'm pushing the limit with my hornbeams. The shillings are much more adapted to this area, and the bald cypress too. I have no problem with the cypress, and elms too. The little elm trees that I'll be showing you soon are actually seedlings from my neighbor across the street. She's got 2 big elms, and I just asked her if I could collect some of the seed. And of course she looked at me like I was crazy, and then I collected the seed. So the elms, the bald cypress, and the shillings holly, they are all pretty well adapted to this area. But the junipers and the hornbeams, and there may be a couple other that's escaping my memory. I'm pushing the envelope on those guys. But I'm super happy I have not lost one of these guys, well, except for the one that got stolen, but I really don't want to even mention that. So that's it for today. If you like this video, if the way this guy turned out is at least halfway decent, please give me a like, subscribe, and you can watch this guy continue to develop. And I think as it does, we're going to have a really nice little tree. Hit the notification bell and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. It's still what I call in the ugly duckling stage, but it certainly has, in my mind, I can see a really pretty finished tree. So thanks so much for watching. I hope that doing the video in front of the lighter background didn't affect the quality of the video, and I still have a long way to go when it comes to video quality, at least in my mind. I feel like such an amateur. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.